Hey, welcome to the dub on Creating Games. This is the category compilation part 3 of Work Ethic. There's only 3 videos in this entire one, so get ready when ideas won't come. Let's say you have to come up with an idea. It's urgent. You need to, no matter what, but nothing is coming to you. What would you do, or what could you do? Well, some might say sleep on it, and that may work for some people, but here's what I do. I just keep thinking and thinking until I manage to squeeze something out, and this isn't guaranteed to solve every issue, but I suggest you hear what I have to say about ideation, even if you take it with a grain of salt. First, try to define the theme of your problem. It's okay to keep it simple. And for hypothetical sake, let's say your theme is how to put out a fire on some ruins. You can run some mental trial and error on possible solutions, like throw water on it, which that won't work since there's no water nearby. You could cut the airflow, but that won't work either since you can't stop air. You could smother it with sand, but sand is too hard to come by. But what about dirt? Dirt might work. So you could try putting it out with explosives, but that would be too much damage to the area. Where would you even get explosives from? I won't tell. You could cover it with a bucket, but the fire's not small enough for that. But what about a bigger bucket? A bigger bucket might work. And you want to think of broad concepts and then follow their threads of inevitably to an answer. Instead of passing over minor ideas like dirt or a larger bucket, try to dig deep into every possibility. And you just might find that bigger bucket. The important thing is that you just keep coming up with solutions. Even if they're not very realistic, it's better to have some over none, quantity over quality, and save the pruning for later. If nothing else, this will help you escape the feeling of not having anything at all, and open the path to improvements. So even silly ideas are valid ones. Nobody's looking inside your head to see what you're thinking after all. If you really mull things over and cast a wide net, well, you may be able to land on a good idea eventually. I've gone through this process plenty of times for various game ideas or design decisions. And the key is to start by figuring out the theme of your problem. If you try to think of something from nothing, you won't have a clear starting point, and then it'll only be natural that the ideas won't come. My advice is to hone in on the problem you're facing, then make your way towards the best solution. Well, that's the first one. It's a short one this time. We're up on the second one of 3. Never get into fights, because it's a small world. Game developers will sometimes have to work in a variety of different teams. It's pretty common. This goes without saying. If you're a temporary employee, and even if you're not, it's extremely common that you or someone else will get shuffled between different teams. As such, there's something you need to be very mindful of. A coworker on your team today could very well end up seeing you again on a different team in the future. What a coincidence. If you fight with your teammates or cause problems for them, uh-oh. If you act selfishly or leave the company on bad terms, uh-oh. Or if you abandon a project to dive into the next job, oh no. Well, you might make your fresh start only for one of your old colleagues to join that same team. This can sometimes happen a few years down the road on an unrelated project, but unfortunately, the game industry is much smaller than you think, so there is no escape. So never get into fights. Don't speak ill of people either. Because if you treat someone poorly, they probably won't be thinking too highly of you, and you'll just find yourself getting excluded. Unless you're leaving the industry entirely, which that kind of behavior will almost always come back to haunt you. So, as a bit of an aside, directors from other companies will sometimes come to me for my opinion. Something like, hey, someone from your team is interviewing with us. What do you think of them? And, I'm not always sure how to answer whenever that happens. Not that I'd ever speak poorly of anyone, ever, or that I'd reveal anything confidential. But if you're faced with a stressful situation, I won't tell you to just grow up and deal with it. Oftentimes, speaking your mind will end up working to everyone's benefit. But remember that you're responsible for setting the atmosphere at your workplace. There may be some unpleasant people or others that you just don't get along with. But focusing on them might draw attention away from the supportive people who don't cause any issues. It's okay to distance yourself from a situation that doesn't suit you, and it's okay to be upfront with constructive feedback. But don't think poorly of people, because that dislike will come straight back to you. All that I have to say, teams and coworkers should be striving together toward a single common goal. Boom! Number 2, done of 3. And it's the final one. Up is down, and down is up. Well, I've written about this previously in my column, but I consider it a very important rule to keep in mind, so I'd like to touch on it here on the channel as well. Just because someone's a director, a producer, or some kind of leader, that doesn't mean it's their job to just bark orders at the rest of the team. No. While they are in the position to ask for things as they guide a title toward the finish line, they're no higher up than anyone else. Everyone's on the same level. On the contrary, the people who provide ideas and proposals are powerless without the others who are helping them out. So it is true that directors stand the farthest upstream in the production process. The instructions they give travel downward from that top position. But in actuality, they're making requests from the bottom up to the dev team members who will be doing the actual work. It should be easier to conceptualize if you think of the relationship between customer and publisher. It's not the publisher that says, "You should buy our game." Instead, the customer makes that decision saying, "I'm gonna buy that game." The customer is downstream in terms of distribution, but they're upstream when it comes to whether they ultimately choose the value of the game. It goes without saying that the king in this relationship isn't the publisher, but it's always the customer. As for the dev team that's been hired by a company, everyone has a duty to do what the company asks, and nobody is higher or lower than anyone else in that. Neither the director nor the team members should act superior or subservient to anyone else, I'd say. And even if you were above someone, remember, nobody likes a demanding customer. So no matter your position, you'll just end up being resented. So whether you're the boss or a core member of the team, you should always show respect to those around you. Because everyone on the team should be working together to create a better product. You're a team, work together. Every member of your team, they're an ally. Let's do this together. Even if you have the occasional disagreement, that does not make you enemies. As a general rule, I prefer to address my team members politely, both in name and speaking style, like Mr. Soriyama, even in a brand new hire who's much younger than I am. Which, honestly, I'm a little taken aback when I hear other people addressing new coworkers casually, like, "Hey, Soriyama!" On the other hand, I don't tend to write too formally in emails to external companies, not even with the higher-ups at Nintendo. This might come across a bit rude in some contexts, but I don't think anyone's had a problem with it so far. I hope. Well, up is down, and down is up. Be sure to remember this, especially if you're in a leadership or directorial position. Hard concept, but there it is. Complete! All 3 of 3 completed. Thanks so much for watching the dub. All 3 of them in this category have been wrapped up. Catch you in the next.